Hi, I'm Rachel Cohn from the Rollins Center for Entrepreneurship and Technology at Brigham Young University. Welcome to the Entrepreneur Lecture Series. Today we'll be hearing from John Richards, an associate professor at BYU. John teaches courses in entrepreneurship, e-business, and management consulting in the Marriott School of Management and the School of Technology. John has been active in dozens of entrepreneurial ventures and business enterprises. He was president of a publishing company in Seattle, Washington for several years, and later vice president of a company that went public and achieved a multi-billion-dollar market capitalization. A frequent speaker on various aspects of business, John remains active as an investor, mentor, and consultant to entrepreneurs. John and his family reside in Provo, Utah. The Marriott School of Management welcomes John Richards to the Entrepreneur Lecture Series.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be with you today. First, let me introduce who I am and my background a little bit. I have several roles in life, and I like to list those out and let you know that an entrepreneur is much more than just a business person that is striving to grow an enterprise. An entrepreneur has many other aspects to life that need to be balanced. So I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a church member, I'm a professor, I'm an entrepreneur and an investor. Those are my roles in life, and they impact greatly my entrepreneurial ventures and what I do and how I attack the business world. So to let you know how real it is, this is my family. So this is my wife, my 4 children, and when I take actions and do things, I think about them and the impact on them and what's going to happen with them. And it's an important part of life, and it's not just about business and getting revenue and growing an enterprise. It's about how it impacts your overall life and what you can contribute and what you can do. So let me go on a little bit now, and I'm going to start today, first of all, by giving you your first pop quiz of the semester. First day, pop quiz time. So if you can take out a piece of paper and number it from 1 to 22 on the left side, and everybody needs to do this. So it's a fun quiz, and we're going to find out your propensity, your ability, your internal traits as they measure up against other entrepreneurs. So it's going to be fun. And the important thing here is to be completely honest with yourself as you answer these questions, and you'll learn a lot about yourself and about how you approach the elements of success in entrepreneurship. So let's take a look at this, and we'll have some fun with it. First of all, this quiz is based on research done by Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company. They did a survey of 5,000 entrepreneurs, and they were looking at what makes entrepreneurs successful and who they are and what they're composed of, because they insure entrepreneurs and the businesses, so they're very interested in this question. And so this is very interesting results that we can then apply and look at our traits and how they measure up against other entrepreneurs. With that, let's talk about question number 1. It says that significantly high numbers of entrepreneurs are children of first-generation Americans. So if your parents immigrated to the United States, -1. If not, score 1. If not, score -1. So this is a +1 or a -1 score, no zeros, all right, on this question. Now, let me ask you this. What would this question have to do with entrepreneurship? Why would this be important? Anyone? Any thoughts? Go ahead.
I think it's kind of like the American dream to own your own business and do your own thing, and if your parents just moved here, they probably got that spirit pretty strong. That would be my guess.
Okay, so why wouldn't the parents be more likely to be stronger entrepreneurs?
I would say probably economic status, like they don't have money or something to do with that.
Okay, let's hear some other thoughts.
Language barriers, sir.
Okay, language barriers. Any other thoughts on this? Go ahead.
They could bring other ideas from their country, where they come from.
Okay, bringing other ideas. I haven't heard some of the ones I'm looking for.
The parents are used to their mode of style. It may have been a very poor style, whereas the children, they want to change their lifestyle. They see what's available in the United States, and they want to go out and make a difference.
Okay, so what's available in the United States, so there's some things. But so what do the parents bring, though, that they would instill in their children? Because the points are being awarded if the parents immigrated, or if at least one parent immigrated. So what's a trait that might be instilled by a parent into a child that is very important in entrepreneurship?
Hard work.
Hard work. That's exactly right. Work ethic. So work ethic. Now, why would the parents, who probably are hard workers as well, they made the effort and made a big change, what would the children get then in America that the immigrant did not receive? What's something that the parents can give by coming to America besides the work ethic?
Children can get an education here.
Education, exactly right. Exactly what you're doing here. You are entrepreneurial students at BYU. Take an entrepreneurship course. When you combine hard work ethic with education, learning from others who have had experience, who have done it before, and they teach you how to do it, that's a powerful combination. And so you can see that when you combine work ethic with education, it's powerful. But there's a problem. We've had several decades in America of some pretty good times, and there's some children of second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth generation Americans that maybe haven't had that work ethic and that love and desire for education instilled in them as strongly. Now, that's not true of any of you, of course, but we'll see how it goes, all right? So that's number one. We'll go faster through the others, but I want to explain there's a lot of thinking behind these questions. Successful entrepreneurs, number two, are not, as a rule, top achievers in school. If you were a top student, subtract 4. If not, add 4. Now, that's an interesting one. Okay, you're here at a top university. By definition, you're probably might be in the top student category. But you define it for yourself. If you were a top student, minus 4. If you were not a top student, positive 4. All right? Now, what does this have to do with anything? Well, let me tell you, there's an old saying in entrepreneurship. A students teach B students how to work for C students. Okay, let that sink in for a second. Okay? Now, some of our PhD friends may not like that statement, right? Okay? But if you think about it, I have 2 sons. One's a little more shy and the other one's a little more extroverted. The shy one is extremely strong in taking exams and performs very well in that kind of academic setting. The second one is a people person, a magnetic personality, and people like to be around him. And it's interesting. When you don't do as well in school, you have to develop your personality to be more people-oriented so you can talk your high school teachers into letting you have a second, third chance on a test, right? No, none of you have ever done that, right? And get your personality, your personal moxie, your negotiating skills developed so that you can do well. Now, one of my favorite entrepreneurial mentors in my life taught me that the most valuable activity you will ever spend in business, most valuable thing you will ever do, is negotiating. And this question hits on that. Because your power to negotiate and persuade people to follow you or do what you think should be done is extremely important to entrepreneurship. All right, let's go faster. Number 3, entrepreneurs are not especially enthusiastic about participating in group activities in school. If you enjoyed group activities, clubs, team sports, double dates, subtract 1. If not, add 1. You know if you were enthusiastic or not on these things. Number 4, studies of entrepreneurs show that as youngsters, they often preferred to be alone. Did you prefer to be alone as a youngster? If so, add 1. If not, subtract 1. Let's keep going. Number 5, those who started enterprises during childhood, like lemonade stands, had newspaper routes, greeting card sales, or even ran for elected office in school, they showed that they had enterprise or entrepreneurial pursuits in their genes early on. So that can be traced to an early age. If that happened to you, please add 2. If not, subtract 2. Stubbornness as a child seems to translate into determination. This is number 6, to do things one's own way. If you were stubborn as a child and you define that for yourself, add 1. If not, subtract 1. On these 2 scores, for instance, in my case, I started innumerable businesses dating back to age 5, literally. I would go around the neighborhood. I used to rent library books from our personal library to other kids for a nickel in the neighborhood. I started a basketball league and collected fees and dues and had more fun doing that than actually playing basketball. But I like basketball, but it was really fun doing that. So those type of things. I'm probably have to talk to some other people in my life, but I think I'm probably pretty stubborn. All right, number 7, caution may involve an unwillingness to take risks, a handicap for those embarking in uncharted territory. If you were cautious as a youngster, deduct 4, a -4. If not, a +4. And you define cautious for yourself. You'll know whether or not you were cautious. Now, number 8 is the first one that's not a plus or a minus. It's either a 0 or a plus. If you would call yourself, growing up, adventuresome or daring, then add 4 more. So that's a 0 or +4 on number 8. Risk is an interesting element of entrepreneurship. Number 9, entrepreneurs often have the faith to pursue different paths despite the opinions of others. This is an important element to entrepreneurship as well. There'll be many people that will tell entrepreneurs that are starting out new enterprises that their idea is dumb. It won't work. You shouldn't do that. Just go with the flow. Stay at your job. Don't take that risk. If the opinions of others matter a lot to you, subtract 1. If not, add 1. Some people in life need to have affirmation from those around them before they make decisions. If that's something you need, answer the points. Number 10, being tired of a daily routine often precipitates an entrepreneur's decision to start an enterprise. So, if changing your daily routine would be something that would motivate you towards starting your own enterprise, add 2. If not, subtract 2. Now, number 11, yes, you enjoy work. Everybody can say that. But do you really enjoy it? Are you willing to work overnight? What I mean by this, and I want you to think about it, is literally working overnight. Now, we can say that easy with our lips, but I'm talking about you're working at your business, and it's 7, 8 p.m., and you have got to get something done in order to make it, and it's going to be 10 p.m., then midnight, then 2 a.m., then 4 a.m., 6 a.m., all the way through. Is anything worth that to you? Now, to many people, nothing would be worth that. And that's the question. If yes, add 2. If no, subtract 2. Number 12, if you are willing to work as long as it takes with little or no sleep to finish a job, add 4 more to this score. What that means is it's Tuesday. You're in a software company. There's a deadline, Friday noon. Your biggest number 1 client, the one that signed up and paid money to get your company going, it's due Friday noon, and you're not done. And you've mapped it out, all the programmers, all the business people there to work things out. It's going to take from Tuesday all the way till Friday noon, no breaks, no stop. And you're going to stay there all the way through and work until it's done, maybe taking 15-minute cat naps here and there. Would you do that? If so, add 4 more. And it's okay if you won't. That's the purpose of these classes, is to find out if this is for you or not. 13, entrepreneurs generally enjoy their type of work so much they move from one project to another non-stop. When you complete a project successfully, do you immediately start another? If yes, add 2. If no, subtract 2. There are people that when they finish a project, they kick back, go play some video games, watch some TV, reward themselves, and it takes a while to get back to doing another project. There's other people that love nothing more than finishing one and going straight to the next and accomplishing the next thing. So that's what that question's measuring. 14, successful entrepreneurs are willing to use their savings to finance a project. Now, this is an important question. I don't want you just to give it a quick pass over. Let's imagine that you'd managed to save up $30,000. You're married with a spouse, maybe 3, 4 years into marriage with 1 or 2 kids. $30,000 in the bank, and you have a great idea, and you've got to start this business, you feel. Would you take your $30,000 in savings and put it all into the business? That's the question. If so, add 2. If not, subtract 2. All right. Now, 15. Let's say that you burn through that $30,000. You need $50,000 more. And you found somebody that's willing to loan it to you. Would you borrow that $50,000 in order to make it in your company? That's question number 15. If yes, add 2 more. If not, subtract 2. Now we know debt can be a dangerous thing, but it's also an important leverage tool to be used appropriately in entrepreneurship. But some people can't use it correctly or are afraid to use it. So this is measuring that. 16, let's say that after the $30,000 in savings, the $50,000 you took out on a loan and have to pay back, the business fails. 16 is asking, if your business should fail, would you immediately start working on another one? If yes, add 4. If no, subtract 4. So would a failure like that stop you from pursuing the next one immediately? And number 17, again, is going to be one of those 0 or a -1, and that is, if you would otherwise, instead of starting a new one, say, I've got to go find a regular paycheck, a regular job. If that's you, then subtract 1. So that's a 0 or -1 on 17. We're almost done. 18, do you believe being an entrepreneur is risky? You define risk for yourself, that word risky. Is it risky to you? If yes, subtract 2. If no, add 2. Number 19. Many entrepreneurs put their long-term and short-term goals in writing. If you do, add 1. If you don't, subtract 1. I know that since 1985, I've used a daily task tracking system every day of my business life, and I attribute a lot of what I've done to keeping track of things in that way. Long-term goals, short-term goals, get them down to daily tasks. If you do, add 1. If you don't, subtract 1. Now, number 20, handling cash flow is a critical part of entrepreneurship. Do you feel you have the ability to deal with cash flow in a professional manner? So if you're messed up right now with credit cards and cash problems in your personal life, it's not going to get any better if you're in charge with a company's cash. So the question is, are you good with cash management? If so, add 2. If not, subtract 2. And again, the more you answer these questions well for yourself, you're going to get a score here, and we're going to be able to interpret it well. All right, now, number 21, last two now. Entrepreneurial personalities seem to be easily bored. If you are easily bored, add 2. If not, subtract 2. Now, this is kind of funny because it means you're probably getting bored with this quiz right about now if you're an entrepreneur. All right, 22. Optimism can fuel the drive to press for success in uncharted waters. So are you a half full kind of guy or a half empty kind of guy? That's the question. If you're an optimist, add 2. Pessimist, subtract 2. Okay, get a net score real quickly, and let's do that and total those up and get a net score. And we're going to take a look at what they mean. And then I'm going to ask a couple questions about the score before I show you a chart of how to interpret these scores. Is there anyone in here that scored 35 or higher? Okay, 1, 2, 3. That's about right out of a group this size. So a very small percentage should score 35 or higher. How about anyone here -15 or lower? Okay, that's 1, 2. That's exactly right. Those should be about balanced on those two. All right, well, let's see what those scores mean. That's interesting. I always like to know those groups because I want to talk to those groups afterwards. All right, okay. This is called your entrepreneurial quotient, like an IQ, an intelligence quotient, but this is entrepreneurial quotient. And here's a chart of what it means. 35 and above are the natural-born entrepreneurs, according to this quiz. Everything going for you, your natural traits, the way you look at risk, some of your background, some of the things that have formed and shaped you. Just a lot of opportunities will come your way, and if you snag one, it's one that people might want to bet on because you've got some talent and skills in that area. How about the 16 to 34 group? 16 to 34. Good cross group there. The background skills, your innate tendencies, everything there is strong entrepreneurial indications. How about the 0 to 15? Can I see that group here? All right, that's a large group. 0 to 15, still have a head start on running a business. You're going to need to get that education and apply those skills and work hard to make sure you get the knowledge, because your innate talents may not be there enough to take you all the way. All right? Now, negative 15 to negative 1. That group? Okay? We're not going to give up on you, though. You might be able to make a go in your venture, but here's one thing that's critical. We talk a lot about that in the entrepreneurial education here at BYU, is finding the right partners and mentors to help you. This group very much needs to find complementary skill sets in other people in order to make it in the business world. There's a huge failure rate in entrepreneurship in America. Many, many people fail. Often it's because they don't get the education they need, and even more often, in my personal opinion, is because they don't surround themselves with the mentors and the partners and the people that complement them. They seek out people just like them, start a company, and they're lacking very important skill sets in that management team to make the enterprise go. All right, and you can see that if you were below negative 15, you probably might want to steer a little clear of entrepreneurship based on this quiz. But, you know, a real entrepreneur would say, who cares what that says? I'm going to do it anyway, right? So thanks for bearing with me on that, and we had some fun with that. Let's take a look at some things about entrepreneurship now as we move on. The players on the entrepreneurial landscape, I want to explain who all of these are. Very important to understand. As you'll be listening to other speakers this semester, they're going to talk about other people in this ecosystem of entrepreneurship that you're going to want to know who they are and their role. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. So let's start. First of all, we have the entrepreneur, and I'm going to talk a little bit more later about what is an entrepreneur in academic terms and then in practical terms. Friends and family. This is a term actually used in the entrepreneur world quite a bit. Friends and family can be a source of a lot of help in business. First of all, they can be a source of money. It's also a potential dangerous source of money. Taking money from friends and family to start your enterprise can be a wonderful thing, and it can be an awful thing. It's a double-edged sword. You have to be very careful. But friends and family is literally a name that you'll hear frequently this semester from the entrepreneurs that started their business saying their first money came from friends and family that helped get their business started. You know, they might have gotten $10,000 from friends and family, turned it into a multi-million-dollar enterprise, and you're going to be meeting people like that. Let's talk about next group. We call them fools. There's investors that help entrepreneurs with money, but really don't know what they're doing. So we actually use that word in the entrepreneurial landscape, and it's people that give money, but don't know what they're doing, and the entrepreneur hasn't really got a mentor then. They've got somebody that just gave them money, and the ship kind of goes in the wrong direction. So sometimes we put those all together and say, yeah, I got my money from friends, families, and fools. That's actually a term used in the real world. All right, the next one is a finance person. What we mean by this is a finance person is who's the one in the business that's going to be watching the money. Often there's an idea person that thinks they can be a finance person. And every once in a while that's true. But more often than not, the person who's creative, that thinks of ideas, ways to beat competitors, ways to develop products and technology, is not the left brain person, that's the right brain person. The left brain person that likes to count the money, the bean counter, so to speak. Now I'm getting in trouble with the accountants. But the ones that count the money, make sure everything's in shape, all the forms are done right, payroll's done right, all those little annoying things to a lot of entrepreneurs, it's extremely important. So who's the finance person on your team is an important question for entrepreneurs. And in my experience, very infrequently is the lead entrepreneur the appropriate finance person. Let's talk about mentor. One thing here at BYU, at Brigham Young University, we have is a strong mentoring program. You're going to learn more about that as this semester goes on. But mentors play a very important role in entrepreneurship. There's no reason that an entrepreneur, let's say a college student starting a business, should have to make every mistake that's been made for decades, if not centuries, before him or her, and not learn from mentors. Matter of fact, here at Brigham Young University, we have a sophisticated system of mentors for students. If a student's starting a business, you can sign up and receive help from many mentors that are interested in giving their time to help you get started. There's no reason someone starting a business should not be going out to lunch 3-4 times a week with potential mentors. For a $5, $6, $7 lunch, you can take somebody to lunch that has spent 30 years in business, 30 years as an entrepreneur, and they'll mentor you and help you with what you're trying to do. And it's a wonderful resource, a very important resource. Angel investors. This is an important word. You're going to hear it a lot. Angel investors are individual investors that invest in startup companies. So if you have an idea, you can go to an angel investor and say, I have this idea, I need money to get it started, will you invest in me? Or I have this idea, it's been going for about a year, but I don't have enough money to grow it faster, will you invest in me? These are called angel investors. The reason they're called angels is because before you can get money from professional firms like banks and investment companies, etc., there's a gap between your family and friends and your own bank account and those big firms. And that gap is filled by these angels. They're called angels because they come and bless the effort with their money and their advice. And many, many great companies were funded by angel investors and grew to become enormous companies, all because an angel investor helped them. And so you're going to hear that term quite a bit. Lawyers. Have to talk about lawyers, and I'm going to bite my tongue, and that's all I'm going to say about it, okay? Lawyers are very important. One of the biggest mistakes, and I don't encourage overspending on legal bills at any time, but one of the biggest mistakes entrepreneurs make is they do not get a lawyer involved soon enough in their endeavor. They will start the company and make a lot of mistakes, legally and practically speaking, that could have been avoided by talking to a good entrepreneurial lawyer early on in the process and avoid many, many mistakes. I could tell endless stories about that. I won't because we don't have time. But it's very important that you find a lawyer who knows his stuff and wants to charge an affordable rate to new businesses and gets all of the paperwork and the things done properly at the beginning so that you don't make a mess of things and so that you create real value as you grow your business. Venture capitalist. Anybody ever heard that term before here? Just a few, about 5 or 6. Okay, maybe a few more raising their hands there. A venture capitalist. What is a venture capitalist? A venture capitalist is usually an entrepreneur who was very successful with his business, got a lot of money from selling that business, and started a fund to invest in other new or growing businesses. And what they do is they form a partnership. Let's say, for example, 4 come together, put in, let's say, $1 million each, so they have $4 million, and then they go get $96 million more from a bunch of other limited partners in this partnership and have $100 million to invest in many, many companies, and they interview these companies, hear their presentations, and decide whether they're going to give them money, capital to grow their business. And that's what a venture capitalist is. This is an important part of the American economy. Venture capitalists fund many, many scientific, medical, and technology companies across America, and they're responsible for some of the great companies that you know of and have heard of, such as Google and others like that. Were all funded by venture capitalists, and that's how they got on the track to where they are today. Now, let's take a look at some other things I'd like to share with you. Here in Utah, I, for instance, am a partner with Utah Angels, an angel investing group. Utah Angels is an example of an investing group, and there's a few in the state of Utah, and there's probably around anywhere from 400 to 800 across America of individuals that have gotten together and formed a group to hear from people like you that want to start companies, and we consider whether or not we will invest in your company. It's a very important part of the economy as well. It's not tracked as well as the venture capitalists, so we don't know how big it is, but most people believe that angel investors account for at least 10 times more investment than venture capitalists. But it's just not tracked well because angel investors don't report to anyone the same way that most venture capitalists do, so there's not a lot of reporting, but it's very important. And you're going to hear a lot about these forms of investment. Bootstrapping, which is you funding your own company with your own savings and getting customers to quickly pay so you don't have to seek investors, or angel investors, or venture capitalists. Those terms are going to be thrown around a lot by the entrepreneurs that meet with you today, or this semester. Now, let me go over what is an entrepreneur. Let me read you a textbook definition. One who creates a new business in the face of risk and uncertainty for the purpose of achieving profit and growth by identifying opportunities and assembling the necessary resource to capitalize on them. That's a mouthful. Let me shorten a little bit. An entrepreneur is someone who has an idea or has identified an opportunity, maybe not a new creative idea, but maybe an innovation, making something faster, better, or cheaper, and then wraps a disciplined business around it. That's how I look at it. So an idea and opportunity with a disciplined business process wrapped around it to bring a product or service to the marketplace. All right, let's talk about the characteristics of entrepreneurs. We took a little quiz. I'm going to share with you what we have found are some of the most important traits or characteristics of entrepreneurs. A desire for responsibility. If you don't want to be accountable, don't be an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs are accountable and responsible to almost everyone in their life at extraordinary levels. Whether it's their family, whether it's their customers, their suppliers, their employees, the government, through taxes and other things like that, etc., etc. Everybody is measuring your performance and wanting to know how you're doing and hold you accountable. And the feedback can be rather immediate. Preference for moderate risk. They actually understand that by taking calculated, well thought out risks, rewards can possibly follow. So they have a preference for moderate risk. Not wild gambling and risk taking. They're not just rolling the dice to see what happens. They're assessing the situation, realizing there's a risk, and they take the risk, mitigating it in every possible way. Confidence in their ability to succeed. This is important. This is as much an art as a science, entrepreneurship. And being confident just to the point before you become arrogant is important. People have to believe in you. That group of people I mentioned before, including your family, customers, employees, suppliers, etc., etc., those people need to believe in you. They have to believe that you can do it, that you can achieve what you say you're going to achieve. And that confidence needs to come through. Nothing is more important than enthusiasm in selling your ideas and your passion. And being enthusiastic is important, and having other people believe and buy your enthusiasm. Desire for immediate feedback. We talked about that a little bit on desire for responsibility. An entrepreneur wants that immediate feedback. They know that it's a race against their competitors at all times. They know there's competition looming. There could be somebody doing what they did 2 years ago, starting a company to wipe them out, just like they tried to wipe out somebody else in the competitive field. They want immediate feedback. They want somebody to tell them whether they're doing right or wrong. They don't get offended if somebody tells them that they're on the wrong path. They want to hear that feedback. High level of energy. They've got to be excited and pumped. They've got to feel the passion. Everybody around the entrepreneur wants to feel that passion. And that energy is important. Just like we said, working all night, working 3 days in a row, being able to keep that energy up when you're dead dog tired. Let me tell you, you're not an entrepreneur until it's Thursday night at 9 p.m. and payroll is due for 20 employees Friday at 9 a.m. and there's not enough cash in the bank to meet that payroll. You got to have energy to spend the next 12 hours to find that money to pay your people. And if you don't have the energy and you give up and go home and sleep for 10 hours, you're going to have a problem next morning. I've been there, done that. Those are real issues. Future orientation. Entrepreneurs are constantly thinking ahead. I liken it to a chess game. When you play, any chess players in here? Any people like to play chess at all? You've got to see 3, 5, 7 moves ahead, and often multiple paths of those 7 moves, don't you, in chess, in order to win the game. It's like that in entrepreneurship. You've got to understand what you're doing today and make a decision and impact. What's it doing right now, and then what's going to happen down the road 7 chess moves ahead in the game of entrepreneurship. Skilled at organizing. You can't be sloppy. I have seen countless numbers of incredibly great ideas and business opportunities fail because of sloppiness. Either costing untold sums of money to fix or causing failure of the company. It's a big problem. You have to be organized. You have to keep things straight. Have to surround yourself, if you're weak in this area, with people who are very organized. Value achievement over money. If you're in entrepreneurship just for the money, you won't get it. That's my belief. It's about creating value. Certainly, increasing one's net worth by creating a great company that becomes worth a lot is one of the goals of entrepreneurship. But it shouldn't be the all-encompassing, the only goal, because it will become self-defeating in the end. It's about achieving value for customers, for employees, for yourself, for your family, all those constituents I was talking about earlier. Let me talk a little bit about creativity and innovation and their role in entrepreneurship now, shifting gears just a little bit. I mentioned this just a while ago. Entrepreneurship is not just about creativity. Now, some people think that, and they get dismayed because they think they have to be a great inventor to be an entrepreneur. Now, certainly, there's many entrepreneurs who have become great innovators or inventors that have become great entrepreneurs. I hope I said that right. Let me restate that. There are many great inventors that have become entrepreneurs, but not all entrepreneurs have to be great inventors. That's important to understand. And let me explain the difference between creation and innovation. Creativity is the ability to develop new ideas and discover new ways of looking at problems and opportunities. In other words, thinking new things. But innovation is the ability to apply creative solutions to problems or opportunities to enhance and enrich people's lives. In other words, doing new things. Now, I don't believe I'm very creative, actually. But I think I'm innovative. So I can think of ways to do things faster, better, or cheaper. But I'm not the great inventor that thinks up something brand new. And there are many out there, and they're fun to be around. But you don't have to be that way to be an entrepreneur. Let's talk now about entrepreneurship. I alluded to this before, that it's the result of a systematized or systematic process, disciplined process, and bringing these opportunities, these needs to the marketplace. Let me tell you one of the things I like to say about entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is finding a pain in the marketplace, a pain and then fixing and curing that pain. That's where the best ideas, the most innovation comes from. Every day in your life, and hopefully as you've started this seminar series, you will now look at the world a little differently. Every day as you go through, I believe there's at least 10, maybe up to 100 things that kind of annoy us, each one of us. Why can't that be better? Why did they do it that way? If only someone would make this or do that. Now it's the person that acts on those thoughts that starts off into great entrepreneurship. Why not you being the one that fixes that pain or that problem? Why isn't it you making it happen? That's where great things come from. All right. Entrepreneurs then connect their creative ideas with the purposeful action and structure of a business. Now, let me tell you a little bit about my experience. I've had 2 successful harvests in life. What I mean by this is 2 times where I built and sold a company and significantly did well. But I've created other businesses that didn't do so well. I've invested in businesses. Some did really well. Others, within a month, lost all my money. It happens that fast. It's risky. Entrepreneurship is definitely a risky enterprise. Let me tell you a little bit about, I'm going to go on here, about ideas and how you can mitigate the risk and identify the difference between an idea and an opportunity. We're going to cover it very briefly. First of all, there's a lot of ideas in this world. Matter of fact, I maintain that for every 1 million ideas, probably 10,000 of those might be at some level a business opportunity. Out of the 10,000 business opportunities, maybe 1,000 might be worthy to be made into a business plan to take a look to see if it should be a business. And out of those, maybe a maximum of 10, 1 to 10 of those should be funded and become a business. So you need to spend a lot of time in your idea and opportunity filtering to make sure that you don't take your precious money, your precious time, and put into an idea that maybe isn't a great opportunity. So how do we do that? Well, let me tell you about 3 classic tools to use, and that's called the 3 M's. When you have an idea, you say, does your idea have market demand? That's the first M. Does it have market size? That's the second M. And number 3, does it have margin analysis? In other words, are there good margins? Here's what I mean by those 3. One is there demand in the marketplace for this product or service? How big will that market be? If you sold every customer who could possibly buy it, how much money, how big would that be? Would you be surprised to know that that probably should be about $1 billion if you sold every customer in the United States? We're talking U.S. based. Should be about $1 billion. Now, you're never going to sell every customer, are you? But if it's so small, then you can see when it's that small, if it were $10 million total market size and you only got 3% of it, that's only a $300,000 business and probably not worth your time. So just wanted to share with you those tools to look at. Margin analysis has to do with whether or not it's got higher, low margins. In other words, when you sell a unit, is the percentage profit 3% or 30%? The higher the margin, the better the idea. For me, I'll just share 5 more of my beliefs. I like a high barrier to entry. I like low capital requirement. I like a recurring revenue model where if I sell somebody, I don't have to resell them. They keep paying me every month. I like those businesses better. Large market opportunity, I like it to be big, and I like low headcount need. I like businesses where I don't have to hire a lot of people as I grow the business. As I grow revenues, the people don't get hired at the same rate because people are the #1 expense for most businesses. Now, I'm going to kind of shoot ahead here and talk a little bit about something. and it's something very personal and important to me, and that is about this concept of money in talking about entrepreneurship. You're going to meet people this semester who have built companies that have grown to rather large enterprises. And we talk about money a lot as we talk about entrepreneurship, but I don't want that to skew you. I was involved in a business where the first 400 employees of the business, every single one became a multimillionaire. That's a unique experience in life. I never saw more unhappiness, more problems than I had seen after that happened. I saw people change from being happy and poor to rich and unhappy. So in closing, and thinking about entrepreneurship as you go off, and you've been oriented a little bit today on entrepreneurship and what it means and who the players are, and you're going to be hearing and from all these people and all these things, I just want you to understand that it's really important to keep your head on straight. I want you to be as wildly successful in your life as possible. But remember always, always to keep your priorities straight as you start new businesses. It's very important. You're going to be hearing from great entrepreneurs this semester in this class. This course brings to campus some of the best people I've ever met who have kept that balance between doing great things and being in the world, but not of the world. And so my caution to you would, and my advice to you would be, if you want, to think about going home tonight and reading from the Book of Mormon a chapter that covers this topic, and that's Jacob chapter 2. And after you've heard what you've heard today, read Jacob chapter 2 and understand the perspective of wealth and achieved through entrepreneurship and what it means in the gospel setting. And that's something that's really important to me. So with that, I just would like to close and say thank you so much for your time today and for everything that you're going to see this semester. I really hope that you'll ask good questions of those that you will talk to and be with and understand some of these terms and really put it to use. And the greatest thing that will happen to me as being a part of this program here at Brigham Young University is that a few years from now, you will be up here standing in front of this type of group and sharing your experience as an entrepreneur and what happened to you after you left this campus. So thanks for your time today. Appreciate it very much.